Greetings, metal community, and it's Roger back with another video. This is kind of a response to Marc G's, Morrisound top 10. I will show a top 10-ish in the beginning of this video, and then I'm gonna show several other great releases and a couple of some releases that was kind of surprising that were Morrisound. They don't actually sound like a Morrisounds, but I hope you enjoy this. My list is kind of in the same vein as Marc, just one album per band, because I really could have done a top 10 with just 3 or 4 bands here, because there was a lot of excellent stuff coming out from that studio. So my list is a bit different from Marc's list, of course. That's good. So I'm just going to show the list, and then I'm going to show some other stuff and talk a little bit about them, and hope this is an enjoyable video for you. So at my number 10, I have Brutality, Scream of Anguish, Jesus Christ, and Superstar, and all that shit. But, this happens. Fucking excellent band in general, and this album is just so damn good. They have this kind of weird tempos going on with the riffing. And again, all these albums or bands are different sounding. They're not any bands that sound exactly the same. Nowadays you get a lot of bands that have you can pinpoint kind of how they sound and how they, or who they sound like, but these guys were pretty much, unique sounding, all of them. Out on Nuclear Blast's, US. This is an OG copy. Bought it when it came out. Always loved this band. One of these bands that are underappreciated or overlooked in a way. Same like Mortis Gold and stuff like that. If you haven't checked out Brutality, go and do so. I mean, all their stuff is great. Demos as well are awesome. So that's my number 10. On number 9, I have Load Blast from France with Sublime Dementia. This was another kind of unique sounding band, very bare bone. Out on Noise Records. Again, an original CD. I picked up this on vinyl, like a reissued vinyl, but kind of cool to show off the OG presses. Again, picked it up back when it came out. Always loved this album. Sounds again like nobody else, and these guys were probably one of the first, if not the first, French band to record a thrash or death metal album. So this is their 3rd full length, I think, if I remember correctly. Killer. They started out as a thrash outfit or death thrash, but this is a death metal album, but it's not very kind of brutal or anything. It's just so many good riffs on here, and they have this kind of melancholy into their music that I really enjoy. Fucking awesome album. And this is an album that I return to quite frequently, because it's kind of an all-time favorites. I do have a couple of hundreds of all-time favorites, but again, always when you do a top 10 list, there is probably 10 albums that deserve to be top 3. So I mean, all these albums could have been up there, at least top 5, Another album that I fucking love and has had one of the best covers ever, like back then at least, is Malevolent Creation with the 10 Commandments. I just fucking love this album as well, of course. It is on my top 10 list. This is the OG. Out on Road Runner Records, 1991. Just filled with bangers. Great intro and Premature Burial, multiple stab wounds, yeah, Malevolent Creation, the title track, is a fucking awesome ending track. So yeah, just a banger of an album. I don't need to talk much about these. You guys know them all. But again, Brett Hoffman was, you know, I kind of like the Malevolent Creation stuff with Brett Hoffman on. I don't care so much about the other shit, but yeah, Brett Hoffman did have a fantastic and kind of characteristic voice. Yeah, tongue twister there again. Sorry about that, but yeah, another one that's, again, love this band and love, well, especially the three first albums are classics, but this is Pestilence with the Testimony of the Ancients. Again, this is the OG from 91. Again, big year for death metal. And yeah, the inner looks like this with a cool collage and, the lyrics on the other side. I have a lot of like interludes or whatever you call it between the songs, but on this occasion it works very well. I'm normally I don't like too much intros, but this album is very well composed. And, of course, we were all a little bit like when Van Drunen left this band, how good would they be? But I think young Mamel is doing a excellent job on this album. So, but again, a fantastic death metal, for me, a classic masterpiece again, and it's cool to have not just American bands on this in this video. That would be boring, right? Again, one of the absolute best albums out there. D-side with their first album. Kind of not much to see on these old booklets, but this is came out in 1990, and yeah, fucking love this. I love, the first 2-3 albums even is kind of, especially the first two, is top 10 material, regardless of how you put it. Some like the other second album better than this. I'm kind of right smack in the middle. I could have chosen Legion as well, because I fucking love that album as well. But it made a massive impact on me when I heard this first time, because it was so damn brutal. Killer album. Next up we have another very well known and iconic album, I would say, Death, Leprosy. I would say this is my favorite, but I don't listen to this as much anymore, because, I've heard it quite a bit. So, and yeah, cool band photos there. Again, original out on, Combat Under One Flag. This is under the One Flag, UK edition. Yeah, I think for a long time it's kind of been my absolute favorite, but I probably listen more to the other albums just because I know this in and out. But you can't deny, the impact Death as a band and Chuck Schuldinger's work, and this album is fantastic. But they have several fantastic albums. Then we have It 4 left. So this should be the 4th place. Another massive album for me. This is a reissue. Never picked up the original for some reason. I don't know why. Suffocation, Pierced from Within. My favorite Suffocation album. And again, killer band, killer artwork. This is, as I said, a reissue, but it's nicely done. So I don't mind it. I would love to have an OG, but I mean, they cost a lot of money, so I'm not gonna spend that on when you can get a good reissue of it. So, but yeah, fantastic album. I would say, yeah, I mean, all these songs are fucking killer. So, Again, a very well-known album, and all of these are, so not much excitement here. But you know, one of the coolest covers ever, and you know, fucking cool album as well, is Obituaries. Cause of Death. Again, this is a reissue from '97. I did have this on dub tape because my cousin had it, or has the original vinyl still, I guess. You know, massive lyric sheet with all the words that he could remember singing, I guess. But yeah, even though this has a cover song, it's probably one of the best cover songs ever made. You know, Circle of the Tyrants. It just fits very well into the album. All bangers, massive album, heavy as F. You know, this was the most brutal stuff you heard back in 1990 when it comes to his vocals and you know, the heaviness of the music. Just a, yeah, again, fantastic album, 10 out of 10, even with a cover song. Second place, again, there's no surprises. Morbid Angel, Authors of Madness. Yeah, just a awesome album. Legendary. This is a bare bone reissue from Eric, I think. Or is this? Yeah, I can't read it. But yeah, awesome album, and I was starting thinking that this is an original, but I don't think my original would look so nice as this. But might be one of these early reissues. But regardless, awesome album, and yeah. But for me, it's always, this is one of the best, for me, death metal albums out there ever. I love this since I got it back in. I bought this in '91. It came out 1990, but at this piece of time, unique sounding again. You know, just so fucking good, intense. A lot of tempo changes. I love that stuff. Again, this is an original Activity vinyl. I do have 5 different versions of this album, you know, 2 CD versions and a picture disc and a reissued vinyl, because my original vinyl is pretty well played, so I'm kind of trying to spare it for too many spins. But yeah, I fucking love this album. And the reason why I checked out this band was that they were touring with Candlemass back in 1990, and there was a review of it in a Norwegian magazine, and the guy who was on that gig reviewing it was there to see Candlemass, but after seeing Athi's performance, he was so hyped that he watched 2 songs with Candlemass and left the whole gig. So that shows you how impactful album this was, or this band was, back in the day, and legendary release, and I fucking love it. Some people will say Unquestionable is better. It's different, but I will pick this over that anytime. So yeah, that's my top 10ish. Then I'm gonna show more death metal and stuff like that. You know, one album that would have deserved a place in the top 10 is, you know, Harmony Corruption with Napalm Death, another legendary kick-ass album. You think this is my original copy of it from 1990, and yeah, just a blast of an album. This was my entry to Napalm Death, because back then I couldn't kind of, the grind thing or the kind of earlier stuff was too mental for me back then, but this album was top notch. I do prefer Utopia Vanished over this. That's my favorite Napalm Death, but means Suffer the Children and everything. But you know, Suffer the Children is probably one of the best tracks Napalm Death has ever done. So yeah, should have been in the top 10, but you know, There's not room for all that. Another album that I picked up lately on vinyl was, Asheron's Rites of Black Mass, also recorded, of course, in Morrisound. I don't need to have to say that over and over again. I really like this edition. Really well done. And I've always been a fan of Asheron because they are sounding different and quite unique. I do prefer Lex Talionis over this, but awesome album. Yeah, we can do some more CDs of cool stuff. A German well-known band, Atrocity with Hallucinations. It was also recorded in that studio, and this is a kind of a double disc with some the Hunt EP and some live tracks and stuff like that. But yeah, great album. Again, I am a fan of the Todessensucht record, or Longing for Death, as you guys will say it. But yeah, another like potential top 10. I'm sure a lot of people would have expected this one to be there. Massacre from Beyond. This is the OG CD from back in the days. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't pick it up on vinyl. Probably not able to find one, but again, like, it is, flawless album, but again, it's one of those albums that I don't return to as much now because it just is too familiar. You have listened to it too many times. But I mean, if somebody puts this on, I won't say to them to shut that thing off. Another classic, Canadians, Gorguts with Considered Dead. This green dish, came out 1991 again. Such a massive year for death metal. I prefer Erosion of Sanity over this, mainly because the vocals are a little bit better on the second album, but bands like Inoculated Life, the last one, Disconnected, so many killer tracks on this album as well. A newer release was, Vital Remains, The Christian Eyes, with Glenn Benton on vocals. I just think this is a fucking killer album. Does it sound more D-side, or does D-side sound more like Vital Remains? At this stage, kind of a little bit mixed together, two bands, but a kick-ass album again. Of course, the legendary Nocturnus, the key. I'm not like... This is a unique album sound-wise with the synth and stuff like that, but I always struggled a little bit with Mike Browning's vocals. I don't think they are fantastic. They are a little bit like monotonous and weird. Staccato is the word I was looking for. And also I think Threshold is a more well thought of album. It's a little bit kind of chaotic and stuff like that, but it's a cool, very cool release, and it is a classic regardless. It's not being one of my favorites. Then we're gonna talk about one of my least favorite vocalists in the death metal scene back then, and this was my entry with Cannibal Corpse, The Bleeding. I've never liked Chris Barnes. This is a totally weird looking, release with kind of just half of the songs mentioned on one side, and yeah, it's weird release, but Chris Barnes does a killer job on this album. There's two albums that I like with Chris Barnes, and that's this one and Torture Killers Swarm. that's the two albums that I think he has kind of been really good. I do not listen a lot to the older ones. I do like the songs, but I can't, I don't like his vocals. This is a Music for Nations OG. When this came out, 97 or something? No, 94? Yeah, 94. So, yeah. Cool album. Another album that would be very high on any list if they had dropped something, and that's the Resurrection with Embalmed Existence. Again, OG Nuclear Blast. So it's kind of sad that they have this kind of talking voice between the songs, that's kind of narrative vocal or talking shit, like yeah, it's kind of destroying the flow of this album totally. A lot of killer songs on it, so I think this album would have been more appreciated if it did kind of just do a normal release without that. Yes, it stuck out, but I mean, man, 1993, and I think these guys would have been more popular if they had dropped that. Awesome artwork, of course, as a lot of the good old death metal bands. You know, UK Cancer, not the best band in the world, but they do again have their own sound, and I really like this band. I always liked them. I'm not like a massive fan of them like someone else are, but yeah, That Shall Rise, and they haven't really done any bad albums. I didn't pick up the last one because I thought it was, I don't know, kind of lost the sound a little bit on that, but still a good album. But yeah, good album. Another banger is Monstrosity with Impurity, in Dark Purity. Yeah, killer. You know, I won't say that Monstrosity has kind of had a lot of great covers, but yeah, musically, killer band. Kind of again a band that have been around for a long time, released a lot of albums, but you know, everybody likes them. But again, they kind of fade in comparison to a lot of other bands in that genre. So, but yeah, cool. And yeah, just pulled out this one I listened to as well. This is Equinox with Journey into Oblivion. This came out in 2003 on, yeah, I don't know what this logo says. Whatever. Pretty good stuff. Kind of a more blackened vocals on. I would say the music is death metal, but I do prefer this over the first album that came out, like probably 96 or something. I don't remember, but I think this is a better album. Not like top notch, but it's just cool to see what's out there, you know. And now we're going on to more kind of thrash metal and heavy metal. We are playing this demo comp in the background, Elysium with Inspired Hatred. Pretty damn good, the first demo. There are some goofy shit on the kind of, yeah, they have the Baby Fuck song, which is totally stupid, but that was the case of a lot of, you know, thrash acts back in the day. They had to have a goofy song for some reason. But yeah, go and check it out if you want. I would say they are more in the vein of like Devastation and bands like that. Pretty damn good. The Syndrome demos also recorded in, you know, Morrisound, and this is a kind of a yeah, all their releases comp. So damn good as well. Again, it's kind of on the heavier side of thrash. There's not really much like soft thrash bands, but yeah. If we're talking about top 10 albums, this would have been there if kind of we done a Thrash list, this will probably be on the top. You know, Incubus with Beyond the Unknown. Now it's known for Opprobrium. I do have the vinyl with Opprobrium on, but I was lucky to find this CD with Incubus. It's just split between Serpent Temptation and Beyond the Unknown, but yeah, if you like Sepultura, you will like this. And yeah, we can talk about Sepultura when we're at it. You know, Arise, another album that I kind of never thought about being, recorded in Morrisound. I never thought about it at all. But yeah, this is a remastered edition. I was pretty sure I had the original vinyl, but I don't know. Maybe I sold it at one point or whatnot. But yeah, so I had to pick up this shit back in 97 or 98 or whatever. But yeah, probably had it on dub tape as a lot of stuff. Another pretty well known is Devastation with Idolatry. And Combat Records, Spine is Broken, so need to all it's another unique vocalist, and again, you know, brutal thrash, death thrash, what do you call this? I call it brutal thrash, but yeah, absolutely banger of an album. A lot of kick-ass riffs. The vocalist here might have thrown some people off, I think, because he has a little bit weird vocal style. But awesome album. Of course, this, I saw Marc G, I think he had it on his top 10. Yeah, it's pretty damn close. Again, this is brutal thrash, death thrash, tortured existence. Again, a top-notch album, in a top, 20 all-time thrash, death thrash albums, maybe. I don't know. I do love this band. I think they are awesome. One release that I kind of had forgotten about, but that's Overthrow from Canada. Within Suffering, again in the vein of Devastation. Damn good album. This is a release I don't think I've seen any, or maybe I've seen this once in the kind of metal community all these years I've been here, but definitely should have been more talked about. So go and check out Overthrow with Within Suffering if you like that type of brutal thrash or heavier side of thrash. Solstice, whatever. I don't remember which album was recorded. This is a compilation of between Sentencing and Prey. Also have a remix of Prey, which sounds better than the original, I must say. So yeah, good album. Not a fantastic one, but again, just shows a little bit variety. Then you have Dr. Butcher, which is more in the vein of Sabotage, mostly because, John Leliva is the singer here. So I'm sure every Sabotage fans out there have, listened to it. This album was also recorded there, Sirens. Yeah, I love this artwork. I think it's better than the other artwork, especially with this kind of hidden face here from the other artwork. But yeah, this album is, totally, this album is actually better than this, I feel. But Holocaust is one of my favorite Sabotage songs. It was the first Sabotage song that I heard. But also Sirens is a stellar track. But rest of it is more kind of hard rocky heavy metal. Not everything good came out from Morrisound. Yeah. Creator Renewal. This is the noise original noise pressing. So yeah, kind of weird that this album was kind of, yeah, I don't know why this is kind of Morrison, tied to Morrison, but it is. And let me see here. Recorded when this came out, 92. So yeah, never understood this album. Tried many times in the later years as well, but it's just super weird. And yeah, it's not that different from Coma of Souls, but yeah, I don't know. Another banger that, you know, was recorded there, Hellwitcher with Syncytial Miscreancy, whatever. Tongue Twister again. This is an awesome album, and this is an original that was gifted to me by one of my viewers, which I'm eternally grateful for it. Wild Rags 1990. Yeah, killer album. Again, you know, this is intense, quite brutal thrash, I would say. Yeah, this one is damn good as well. This is Cabal from the US with Median. I think this was the only thing they ever did. 7 songs. This is death thrash at its finest. Really good. Very happy that this got reissued by Dark Descent some years back now, but I don't remember exactly the year it was reissued. But if you haven't checked out this band and are liking the death thrashy stuff from Morrisound Studio, definitely go and check out Cabal. Really good album. I've been playing this quite a bit the last couple of weeks. Talking about, you know, legendary bands, but for me, it will always be the demos with Cynic that are the best, because he doesn't have that fucking electronic voice of him that he does on the later stuff. But yeah, this is a killer compilation with the 91 and 90 demo, 89 demo. I think it's the 91 demo that is recorded in Morrisound. I'm not sure. Maybe the 1990 demo as well. Don't quite remember. But this is, I mean, if you want Cynic at its best, you can pick this up. I think this is better than Focus. It's a better release than Focus, but yeah. Show this at you know, my last appearance at Heavy Metallurgy, and that's Toxic, another band that I never thought, you know. I don't feel that these guys sounds like a Morrison studio band, but you know, I was more focused on the brutal side of stuff. But another kick-ass album. This is a reissue from 21 on Massacre Records. Yeah, I'm guessing the OGs are probably dirt expensive. Wasn't into this band back in the days. This is kind of a later, yeah, the last 20 years that I've been kind of discovering some of these bands that are, for some reason, I discarded back in the days. Another one of those a little bit later. I knew very well of the band, but this is Agent Steel with Unstoppable Force, another album that I never kind of, you know, reflected on. This was recorded in 1986, so it's pretty early on. I would say, like, they didn't have a lot of. This is the Music Foundation. This is an OG that I found for a very good price a couple of years ago, and great album. Again, you know, this is more, yeah, speed metal-ish, I would say, but kick-ass band again. Yeah, a couple of more to show, and then I will end this video. Of course, you know, you have to talk about this band because this is awesome. Been spinning a lot of Nasty Savage lately, I just showed this Penetration Point, another OG that I picked up over the last couple of years. Very nice condition, and I didn't pay a lot for it. For some reason, this was out on Rotten Records. It was recorded in '89, but it was released also in '89. So, yeah. Nasty Savage, fucking love this band. Again, another band that I discarded back in the days. I thought his vocals was a little bit weird, and I remember seeing a music video that I thought it was just fucking stupid. Another one that could easily have been high on a death thrash list is Exorder, Slaughter in the Vatican. Again, an OG copy of it, which I picked up back in the days. Really dig this album. I think this is a fucking killer album. I don't like much The Law. I think that was a very mediocre release. I listened to the reformed Exorder first release. I didn't like that either. So, but yeah, this album is just awesome. Filled with killer tracks, and absolutely one album that I played a lot when I was, younger. I won't say a kid, but I was like 90. I was 16 years old, so this was pretty awesome back in the days, and yeah, do love the cover. I could have shown more, there's of course a lot of bands like Death and D-Side and Obituary has recorded a lot of albums in the Morrisound Studios, but I didn't want to kind of show too many of those. They are very well known. I did like to pick out some weirder stuff as Elysium and like stuff like that as well, because there was a lot of cool bands that was released from that label that I never listened to back in the days. But of course, demo stuff wasn't easy to get here in Norway anyways back then. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I saw Marc G did a Sunlight video the other day, so I might follow up on that as well if I get the time. But the next one will probably be entering Jeff's 3,000 subs competition down at Medicant Media. Great stuff, and congrats once again, Jeff, if you're watching. Also have a pile of new releases coming in, so I will see how I will divide them up. There is probably going to be a short thrash speed metal video. Might do that first, but I have to wait and see. It's a little bit calmer week for me this week, so I'm planning on shooting a couple of videos so I can have them in the bank. But yeah, thanks as always for watching and subscribing and all the shit. And if you want to share your favorites from Morrisound, please do so in the comments. It's cool. Or if you want to make a video of it, it's also cool. I think it's a cool thing that Marc does when he takes these labels and showcase stuff from them. So yeah, until next time, be sure.